clients, I see that they unblock very quickly when this happens too. And there's a goal, and then you have an accountability partner, whoever that is in your life, to help you in a very supportive and encouraging way achieve those goals or check in on them. For instance, if you really want to make a career change and you're like, it's not the time right now. Okay, when will it be the right time?
Mm-hmm.
How will you know? So maybe identifying that and give yourself a deadline to figure that out.
Welcome to the Radiant Mom Rising, the podcast that's all about celebrating and empowering the incredible hardworking mothers out there. I'm your host, Mary Dibble. I'm on a mission to equip you with the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to conquer the challenges of motherhood and life, all while embracing your radiant self. Join us each week for amazing guest interviews, relatable stories, and a whole lot of fun. We're here to create a vibrant, supportive community where we can be our authentic selves, where no one feels alone, and where we uplift and cheer each other on along this incredible journey of motherhood. So, fellow Radiant Moms, get ready to rise, shine, and conquer the world. Let's grow together, laugh together, and make every week a celebration of the powerful, radiant moms we are. This is Radiant Mom Rising, and you're part of a community where your brilliance shines through. Are you ready to rise with us? Let's get started. Thank you for tuning in to Radiant Mom Rising. I'm Mary Dibble, your host, and I just am so grateful to all of us hardworking moms who come together each week to just be uplifted by incredible stories. And I work so hard to provide you with such value to get you through each and every day of your journey, because I love you and I want to support you. Today, I have a special guest, Miss Lisa Virtue, who is a certified international career coach with 20 plus years of leadership experience, is dedicated to empowering women throughout their career journeys. Lisa specializes in helping professionals build skills and confidence in their communication at work and when in a job search. As an entrepreneur and proud mother, Lisa blends professional acumen with a heartfelt understanding of the balancing acts that define modern career women's lives. This was a juicy conversation. I think you're going to really enjoy her. I loved her energy and just the overall talk. So without further ado, Miss Lisa Virtue.
Thank you so much, Lisa Virtue, for joining me today. I'm excited to have you on my show. How would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your journey's been like so far?
Thank you so much, Mary, for having me. I'm just thrilled to be here. Anytime I can talk to moms and hopefully give them a little bit of inspiration or uplift, it's what I think partly I'm meant to do.
I know, right? That's beautiful. Yes.
Fellow mama. My journey, I'll talk a little bit about motherhood first, and then I'll talk about my career, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So my journey, okay, great. So my journey of being a mom, I was oldest girl of 5. I had an older brother, but the boys back then, especially not a lot of help in the house. So I took on that caretaker kind of live-in nanny role because I had 3 younger siblings that were 7 to 10 years junior to me. So I was the big sister, the teenager when they were little, and I took care of them a lot. And I remember one time in high school, I yelled at my mom and I said, I'm never having children. It's all that pressure of just like being so young, all that responsibility, right?
Mhm.
So fast forward, I met my high school sweetheart. We fell in love, but decided we were too young. And so we were separated and kind of on and off again through college. And then after college, we started getting back together, and I was about to take a job, 18 hours away. And so I was going to make this big move, and we decided to get married. And so my high school sweetheart and I got married. And same thing, like we didn't really know, we knew we wanted a family. We wanted it to be together, and we had talked about maybe children someday, but we never had said like yes or no, right? We just like, we're best friends and knew we wanted to be together. And so we evolved in a way that for almost 10 years of our marriage, not knowing how that would look. And I did deep dives into what would it look like if we adopted? What would it look like if we fostered? I didn't know if I wanted to biologically have my own because I felt this call to help others, but didn't know where that call was coming from. Well, my husband and I decided to do a very intensive foster to adopt training here in Oregon. We're outside of Portland, Oregon. And the first thing they said to us in that training, which fascinated me, was here in Oregon, because usually in-state is how you go about this, there are more people that want to adopt than there are children available to be adopted and free to be adopted. And it just it spun me on my head, right? Thinking, wait a second, now I'm going to be a competition for these other parents and people that physically can't have children, right? I didn't know if I could have children because we always tried not to have children up to that point, right? So that was very interesting. We finished the training and it actually did the opposite effect on us, which is very ironic. And we looked at each other and were like, let's have our own. It almost gave us permission in a way too, right? It was very fascinating. So along comes my daughter, and she's 8 now. She's 8 going on 18. She's precious. But what happened during the pandemic, now I'll switch to my career. I was always working very hard in my career. It's what took us up and down the West Coast. It was what paid the bills. I was the breadwinner for most of our relationship early into our marriage. My husband's still figuring out what he wanted to do. Now he's much more stable, and we switched gears, and then he got to do what he wanted to do. So we've gone and partnered, and I'm very lucky that way. We've had this partnership that has very much helped me. Well, when we had my daughter, wow, everything changes at the workplace. And so that was very insightful, gives you a lot more empathy. I knew that moms, especially seeing my own mom go back to school with 5 kids and work full time with 5 kids, I knew how much it takes, but I hadn't experienced it yet. So that journey, so she was born in 2015, was very interesting. I also got promoted while I was pregnant, and I chose not to share that I was pregnant during that interview process because of the stigma and knowing that that could be a bias that would play into it. So that was fascinating. Went through that journey, figuring that out. Got coaches along the way to help me, which really quickly unblocked me in a lot of ways to advance, especially as a working mom with not a lot of time. Having someone else to be able to talk through that, give advice from, etc., really helped me and helped me progress. So I eventually made it to the executive suite. I was in the health, wellness, fitness space. And during the pandemic, that industry took a huge toll. And so in 2020, right as the pandemic lockdown was finishing up the first round, you remember when it was, we're going to be closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. It was like, okay, well, we can get through this. We also had new management and leadership, and our board changed over every year. So all the leaders had just changed. Everything was just in flux anyway. And I knew that what I was doing I knew I wouldn't do it forever. It was kind of a means to an end in a way. A lot of politics going on and things like that, and just some toxic workplace stuff. And so I was already not having a lot of fun. Then this happens. And all of a sudden I have to lay off almost my entire team. We had 600 employees, and we ended up with only 70 that stayed on at the time. And that was, talk about having my toddler now at home. Preschool shut down. Then my mom literally shows up on our doorstep. I need somewhere to live. So now I'm sandwiched, and I'm an executive with high politics in a remote environment that we had never been in that workplace. And my husband's remote now too. And so we're all just stepping over each other. And my poor daughter, I was like, she's being adulted all day long as an only child. Like, this poor thing, she needs to have kids around, very hard as it was for all of us mamas. I looked at my husband one day, and I had been sitting, I think, at our dining room table, because our office, we had just moved to right before the pandemic. So our office wasn't even set up. So I was sitting there on a laptop for like 16 hours. And every meeting I was in that day was completely worthless. And I looked at my husband, and I was like, have I moved? Have I gone to the bathroom? I was like, what have I done today? And so, as much as my mom wanted to help, she also has some mental capacities that prevent her from being our caretaker. So in one way, it would have been great having her there to help with my daughter, but then we couldn't leave them alone. And so that was another toll that it took. So long story short, I quit. I turned to my husband. I said, I've got something else happen at work. It was like the cherry on top. And I just said, can't do this anymore. I'm going to snap. I'm going to say something inappropriate. And I need to do what's right for the family, right? More so than anything else. Even finances will figure it out. So having that courage to let go and take a big risk without having the money in the bank account to support it, especially after we had moved in this high. Anyway, a lot of things that any average person looking at it just go, why would you do that? So I did it. Well, it had a ripple effect. There were other moms on the team as well, and other women that their kids are already grown and out of the house, but also mamas. We had 50% of our executive team women at that point. After I quit, within the next 9 to 10 months, every single woman quit on the team. So you can see there was something going on, just sheer data. And every single one reached out to me and talked to me about my journey. Other staff that were still on that saw what had happened, reached out and said, thank you for taking a stand. I'm so sorry the way they're treating women, especially moms right now, blah, blah, blah. So what it led me to was being a career coach. And I had had opportunities throughout my career to help my staff with their resumes or interview prep. I recruited hundreds of people over the years myself. I knew what it took to stand out. I made it to the executive suite with the help of coaches also. And so saw where having someone as a guide and a help can help you level up so much that really, as I was dissecting, what am I going to do? Because I had turned to my husband and I said, okay, I'm going to take at least 30 days to like go back and, work with those coaches and figure out what I really am meant to do next. Now that I don't have a plan B, I'm forced into it because I had been dabbling and figuring this out for years, but I hadn't taken any steps, right? I hadn't actually done anything about it. And so I told my husband, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm going to help women in their careers, period. That's going to be the theme of the second half of my career. And so got certified to have more tools in my toolkit, have a network of career coaches, and now get to help hundreds of people around the world level up, find their next gig, help moms figure out that balance, just take the shame away, talk about their story efficiently so they're not spinning at night when falling asleep on their computer, trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's where I am now.
Wow. I love it. I love it. You're such a prime example and pure evidence, like with just that story of why it's okay, why we should take chances and how it's okay to take chances and then make those risks. Because when you feel it, especially in your intuition and in your heart, and that you're meant for more, and you're miserable. Because I've worked in so much that 9 to 5. I've done banking. I did oral surgery, office work, and I know how daunting that environment can be, how toxic that environment can be. I was literally bullied in one of my office settings. So I have been through the ups and downs and was truly blessed to get to a point where I was able to work from home, having young kids. And even that was a challenge. People don't understand how challenging it is. So, I mean, well, I'm sure they do. If you work from home, you understand, like, especially when you have little kids and you don't have anyone to help you with them, having to balance that, manage that. I did it. I got it done because we're bosses, we're moms. That's what we do. So
anyone's gonna do it. It's the super mamas. Yeah.
It's a super mama. Exactly. And that's what led me to my journey of finding the coaching, because it was coaches who helped me to manage all that, to understand that, to change my perspective, to change my conditioning that I didn't even realize for so long I had. And it's so powerful, so beautiful. And I've always wanted to help others in one way or another. And it became my way of being like, okay, I want to help other moms realize their potential, their worth, love themselves and believe in themselves and go after their dreams. So I absolutely love meeting other women who are on that path, and how you're able to use the things that you've been, the challenges that you've been through, to help other women who are going through the same thing find a better way. I think that's
Yes. And
wonderful.
gosh, as moms, isn't it amazing how much we spend on everybody else?
Right. I mean, it is, because it's kind of, if you think about it though, growing up, we're kind of taught that, especially as girls, like we have to take care of this, we got to clean, we have to, be the good girls, we have to be this way. And for me, I grew up with a single mom, so even more so, she just always worked so hard, which I value in the fact that she taught me a great work ethic. She taught me to work, but I don't want to work the way she had to work. I don't want to have to kill myself just to barely get by, which is what I grew up seeing, which created that scarcity mindset in me, of believing that this is how you're supposed to do. You're supposed to work your butt off and be this way as a mom. But I've realized, and I'm so glad and blessed to realize how bad that actually is to have your kids seeing you like that rather than having them grow up and watching, oh my gosh, look at my mom going after her dreams and doing what she loves. And I want her to see that so she too can believe that she can do whatever she wants to do when she grows up, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what inspired me to write my book during the pandemic. So after I quit my job, I
Mhm.
was inspired. Every author will tell you, like, you have this sense of, I have to do this. And I had this spark of a book idea and found an amazing illustrator. So it's called Career Mama COVID Edition. I'd love to give your listeners a free virtual copy. So I'll give you the link for that. And it's through the eyes of the daughter. So it's inspired by my daughter being at home seeing me work, and that was also part of the reason why I was like, I need to do something she can actually see the benefit of. Like what I was doing all day with these very strange meetings, like there's nothing that came out of it. It just kept spinning and like appeasing the board and things like that, right? It just didn't feel like, what is the tangible thing my daughter can see coming out of this? And so that's what the book explores too, is it's called Career Mama, because why do we have to choose? Why can't we have a fulfilling career and be moms? A lot of women do it beautifully, but those of us that have had an example where it didn't work the right way, we get kind of a bad taste in our mouth, right? We see the
Yeah.
toll that it takes because there wasn't a balance there. There wasn't that self-care that the women that do it beautifully also illustrate to their daughters, like, I'm caring for myself, advocating for myself, and doing the work that fulfills me. That's very different than like, I have to do this
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
That is a big difference. Yes. And so right now, if there's moms out there who are in a career that they probably are really unhappy with, and they want to take
Mm,
an initiative move to start their own business or go after that, but they also have that doubt of like, well, I have young kids or I'm too
mhm.
busy as a mom. What would be the biggest advice that you would give them?
It's a great question because there are a lot of different ways to go about it, right? Sometimes it really isn't the right time, and we can all acknowledge that. What I always like to do is give myself deadlines and goals. And my clients, I see that they unblock very quickly when this happens too. And there's a goal, and then you have an accountability partner, whoever that is in your life, to help you in a very supportive and encouraging way achieve those goals or check in on them. For instance, if you really want to make a career change and you're like, it's not the time right now. Okay, when will it be the right time?
Mhm.
How will you know? So maybe identifying that and give yourself a deadline to figure that out.
I love that.
So if it's a year from now, okay, great. Put it on the calendar, write it down, have something tangible in front of you. It doesn't mean making a career shift, by the way, doesn't mean you have to go back to college. Sometimes it does. Doesn't always mean that. In fact, most often it doesn't. Or getting a certification. A lot of people go and just get all these certifications, throw them on their resume, but they don't have the experience to back it up. And now all of a sudden they're not getting the interviews, and they're like, I just wasted all this money on a certification because there wasn't necessarily a strategy or evidence that that was what you need to do, right? Because there's so much noise out there telling us, do this thing. Oh, I'm going to sell you this product. I'm going to do this. Being able to really look at it from a high level perspective of what works, what actually are recruiters and hiring managers looking for, and how are they looking at your materials. So important before you start that journey,
Yes.
not
Yes.
once you're amidst it. There might be people listening right now that are like, oh, shoot, I just went and got this training. What am I going to do with it? Right? That's okay. You can leverage it. You can build it as part of your storytelling, how you keep up on your skills. And, there's ways to leverage things you've already done. But before you go out and spend $30,000 to get your master's degree,
Yeah.
please step back and evaluate, do you need to have it? And if you do, why? And how is that going to help? And where's the evidence for that? And
Yeah.
making sure you're talking to others about it.
Yeah.
Very important. And there's so much information out there that it really helps to, like, if you have ideal companies or jobs that you're going for, go get an informational interview. Do that way in advance, right? It's actually, people actually respond to you probably better than once you're in the job interview process asking for that coffee chat, because they know they're just helping you out. They're going to unblock you. They're not thinking like, oh, they want to use me to get the job, right? So it's actually good to do that really early if you can. There's also a lot of great programs out there for moms too, to get contract work, to get some free resources. Like the Mom Project is one that has some great resources out there. So yeah, I would just recommend like make deadlines for yourself to make decisions. Yeah. So the biggest advice is make deadlines for yourself to make those decisions, and then take the next steps to start how you're going to proceed to make the decisions. But I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I'll just wait till I have a sign, or I'll wait till something happens, and then years go by. And
Mhm.
it's really on us to take ownership of that part.
Absolutely. And there's no time like now, because even the littlest steps, whether it be just researching, making a plan makes such a difference. For me, for instance, when I first decided to go to coaching, I remember I had like this whole year plan. I was like, okay, in a year, I'm going to launch my coaching business. But then when I started doing research and doing a little certification and getting exposure, I realized, oh my God, I can make this happen sooner than I
Mhm.
thought. And within months, I was already out there and
Yeah.
doing it. And it was wonderful. And I was like, sometimes you might surprise yourself when you just start taking even the smallest baby steps. And that's another thing too, is like we put this pressure on ourselves that it has to be hard, that it has to be difficult,
Right.
that we, like it's going to take all this and that in order for it to happen. But sometimes it's so simple. And even if it's not completely easy, it's so doable, and we need to understand that, and we need to embrace that and
Mhm.
own that and enjoy the journey of it and do what you can, because like you say, we're all in different situations. I could easily say, working from home with a full-time job and having two little kids should be my reason not to pursue my stuff on the side, because it adds on that extra stuff. But I'm like, no, I want to have what I want for my life, for my future. I want to set a good example for my kids. And so I did it, and I love it, and it's worked, and
Yep.
there's a way of things working out when you make that decision that you're going to do it.
Mhm.
So I
Yep.
think that's incredible what you do. And I will be sharing your um, information, how they can find you. And of course, thank you for sharing that book. I want to read it. I can't wait to dig into that myself. That sounds incredible, with everybody as well. So they can find you, for those especially who wants that support with the career side of things. You sound like the person to go to for that. So I appreciate you
Thank
sharing
you.
your stuff with us. That's awesome. And tell me a little bit about your daughter as well that
Oh
you have.
yeah, she's a fashionista already.
I heard you say
She's
she's 8 going on
draping.
18.
Yeah, totally. She's draping. She loves to be the teacher. She sits us
Hmm.
down like, I'm going to be the teacher, and then tells us how to do everything. We're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you lead, you have to know how to follow, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really fun. And then we got our first puppy this summer. So that was she's loving every minute of that too, having her
Oh, good.
doggy. Yeah.
Yes, yes. We actually have 3 dogs. So we recently
Oh,
got a puppy. Yeah, oh gosh, yes.
oh my gosh, those puppies are definitely like newborns. I just, yeah.
Woo. Yeah, yes.
It'll be worth it in the end, but woo, it's a lot of
Yes,
work.
yes. It is. It is. Like I have my times where I'm just like, what was I thinking? And then other times I'm like, it's gonna be so worth it when he gets more disciplined and trained, and he's a
Yeah.
lab. So they're such great
We have a
family
lab too.
members. I
The
love it.
exercise. I'm like, ooh, I need to That's one of the reasons, right? I need to exercise more. This will definitely get me out of the house.
Exactly. Motivation, right?
Exactly. Got to
I
find
love
those
it.
accountability partners.
Yes, yes. It's so tell us, you said I know you're in the mix or works of doing a podcast yourself. What's your vision? Like
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your podcast too.
Yeah. I love that you were just talking about those things on the side, because in order to have a mission, we have to have a margin, right? And
Mhm.
so my coaching and executive coaching and people that are in career transition or taking on new leadership roles and need a coach, that's where my margin is. And my mission is really to help bring best practices and tips and things to women that are early in their careers. That could mean by age, maybe they're just starting to get into the workforce, or it could be you're making a pivot and you're trying to figure out how to tell your story and explain that in an interview or put together your marketing materials for that new job. And so I'm going to be launching an app for women early in their careers called Her Career Studio, that looking for beta testers. So if you want to get in now and have lifelong membership, we'll get that link to you, Mary, to share with everyone. And then in addition to that, we'll have a podcast to go with it, Her Career Studio podcast, to talk through what do you like, Mary, I'll have you on and I'll ask you, what do you wish you knew when you were
Oh, right.
entering your job or pivoting, right? And so that will be another resource to give women that are trying to sort through all this noise out there and figure out, because we have such unique situations. Whether, do I want to have a child? Should I have a child? When do I have a child? How should my career affect that decision? Or oops, I have a child.
Yeah.
Or
What
yay,
now?
I'm pregnant, I'm having a child, right? Or
Yes.
I'm never going to have a child. And how does that play into my relationships with other women at work? And so I just want to explore all of that and hear people's advice and send that, pay it forward, as you will.
Yes, and I love that how you brought that up, because I remember I had a cousin who for the longest time didn't have a kid, and she was in the career, and she used to hate on moms in the work and be like, I don't know why they have to get special treatment because they got kids, and what about us who don't have kids? But then she has a kid now, and and it was so funny to see, because I used to tell her, like, it's hard for people to understand when they're not in that same position, the responsibilities and that weigh on us as moms that we have when you have kids. And it's easy to look at it in that perspective when you don't understand. But it was so cool to see her shift when she finally had a kid and realize, when they get sick or with schools or whatever. And I'm actually really proud of her too, because she's in a place where she walked away from her career job after so many years, even though she was making such good money, because she was just so unhappy. And she's finally tapping into who she is and what she wants. She wants to go a different way. And she's now working to build her own business up. And I love to see that. It's incredible. And more and more women are doing it. And I believe in us supporting, encouraging, and helping each other with that, because I don't know your experience with this, but for so long, a lot of the women that I was connected with in my lifetime were always like that competitor type of, fixed mindset. Like, there's not enough resources out there. We have to all fight for it. There's not enough. So blah, blah, blah. But when you build that growth mindset and you really look around, there's plenty out there for all of us. And if we all work together to boost each other up, your success is my success. And I believe in that solely. And it's extremely what I'm about, because I didn't always get that support that I needed when I needed it. And I want to be that for those moms out there who may feel alone on their journey, or that they can't turn to certain family members or friends even about certain things. That's where I want to bring this for them to know you're not alone. We're here. We love you. We'll support you in any way we can and uplift you. So,
Oh,
yeah.
100%. Preach it, sister.
I know. I know. I love it.
So yeah, you cannot take for granted women supporting women. It's such a catchphrase and like things people say, but when you see it in action, it takes on a whole different dimension. When I talk about gender bias at work and what I experienced, because I was in the athletic industry, right? Imagine lots of different gender biases that went into that. It's not just what men have to change and do differently. It's about what women need to rise to the occasion. And I unfortunately had gender bias women. That was what was really going on at the end there for me too, with my first career chapter, because people that I thought were supportive ended up not being. And it was really sad and heartbreaking. And that was also why I turned to my husband and I said, well, I'm going to be putting my money where my mouth is. Literally invest what money I do make back in, because wow, this is just, you can't believe it till you see it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yep, and they do. And me too. And I was so scared. I remember in the beginning of right there, just putting myself out there, just getting out of my comfort zone. And I love my coaches who encouraged me to just do it. And they were so right. And the more and more I did it, the more I realized that, wow, there are people who care. Wow, people are going to listen. And I am capable of making that impact and doing what I want to do and what I love, and attracting the right people into my life. And it's just been a beautiful journey. And I can't wait to see where it goes. I can't wait to see where all of this takes us. It's so awesome to see. So I want to stay in touch and follow you and see how you blossom with this, because I can definitely tell you're going to blossom.
Oh, Mary, you're so sweet. Same to you, mama.
Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Send it right back to you, the good vibes.
I know, right? I love it. I love it. Is there any other piece of advice right now you'd give out to moms who are on the fence about things like that, feeling alone on their journey?
Finding a neutral party, whether that is someone that you highly trust in your friend group or someone you've met online. Obviously, I believe in coaching, as you do too. So if you can pay for a coach, I highly recommend it. But someone who's neutral and not biased. And I will say, sometimes just like we think women are supporting us at work, it might not always be happening. Also be really cautious about people's biases they bring to a conversation, because the reason there's a coaching industry is it's an art and a skill that you have to learn how to ask the right questions in a non-judgmental, neutral way. And most people in society cannot do that effectively, even our friends and our partners. So finding someone that you can really bounce off ideas, but really have them give you their time and the space for that. It's hard. It's hard to find people that have the time to consistently do that with us. That's why I believe there's a coaching industry. We also need that human connection more than ever, right?
Yeah.
So highly recommend that. Finding someone, or I wouldn't say something, because I really believe there's this intuitive quality as well. So I talk a lot about AI. If people hear my podcast or see any trainings I do, how it can unblock you when you're doing a job application or with text, but it can't replace coaching. We're seeing this time and time again, because even though they're working on it, we'll see how far they get someday. There's intuition, there's nuance, there's things we pick up with our eyes and our ears that a machine can't tap into yet, because we don't understand it yet as humans. And if we don't understand it, we can't program it for a computer, right? So there's this fundamental human element, the power of talking to a human, that I believe is really impactful. Yeah. And then there is a book that I would recommend. I don't know if you're familiar with, well, Eckhart Tolle, he's kind of a spiritual advisor / coach, right? A big name. The Power of Now. I listened to it audibly when I was first entering this journey, and it really helped. Anytime I was driving or going on vacation or something, it just really helped to put things in perspective a lot.
Yeah.
And it talked about being present. And I think when you're really highly present and in tune with the here and the now, then you're not afraid as much, right? Your amygdala quiets down. The neuroscience shows us over and over again. There's a reason meditation, mindfulness, all of that works. Prayer, religious practices, they all have this commonality, that when you're in the present state and you're focusing on what's here and now in front of you, your amygdala can't operate, which is the fight or flight zone. So the more we can become in the present moment, the more we can shift the neurons in our brain quicker and more efficiently.
Love it.
And that
Yes,
gets us to take action.
absolutely. I actually, one of the biggest part of one of my programs that I offer is teaching people to be in their present moment and having exercises with that, because
Beautiful.
it's a great way to also learn how to respond and feel differently about certain situations that would normally stress you out. You would normally on autopilot freak out about, even if it involves like your kids or whatever it is. It's a great way to exercise and practice being more in tune and taking some breath and pausing and just really thinking about how do I want to feel about this? How do I want to respond? And getting that control back a little bit on that, because that's really tough when we get lost in the suffering of what could be, or getting consumed in the overwhelm or the chaos that we might be experiencing, when really, if we take a moment, we can look at it differently. We can allow ourselves to feel about it differently, and that alone makes such a difference. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So I love that.
So true.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, because I've seen some things with Eckhart Tolle, but I have not actually, that one I don't think I've checked out. So I'll be sure to check that
Highly
one out.
recommend. Yeah.
Absolutely. Gosh, Lisa, again, thank you so much for being a part of my show.
Oh,
And
thank
just
you for having me.
yes,
So glad we connected.
I am too. I can't wait for everyone to find you and see your journey and grow. That's what this is about. It's us all just, going on this journey together instead of feeling like we have to go on it alone. So leave us some reviews. Let us know how you feel about today's show and any things that we can help guide you with. Please feel free to share that, everyone. We thank you again for being a part of this and listening to us. We hope you enjoyed.
What a great chat with Miss Lisa that was. Here are some takeaways from today's episode. Set clear deadlines for yourself to make important career decisions. Don't assume that you have to take the hardest path to achieve your career goals. Sometimes a simpler route can be just as effective. Seek the support of a neutral party, like a coach, to help you navigate your career decisions and challenges. Embrace the power of women supporting women and the growth mindset to create a more inclusive and empowering community. Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is recommended as a resource to help you stay present and reduce fear and anxiety in your journey. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to Lisa's podcast, Her Career Studio, to learn more and get supported on your career-making decisions. Lastly, please subscribe to my podcast and leave me a review. It is very helpful to not only support me, but to allow me to ensure I am able to support you and my guests on our journeys. If you want to learn more about how we can work together as well, please visit me at marydibblecoaching.com to learn more. As always, let us continue to inspire and uplift each other towards the successful lives we all deserve. Thank you so much for tuning in. Much love.